Well, Simon's already taken my good morning trick away from me, but I'll try it anyway. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's pretty good. All right. Well, thank you. So I'm not going to, I get to talk twice. So I'm going to give a presentation at the end of the day tomorrow about getting beyond user research. But I'm not going to talk about user research now. I'm not going to talk about information now, information architecture now. I'm not going to talk about books or anything like that. I'm going to talk about something we all share, though, and that is that we're all freaking weird. Yeah, we're all weird. I have a feeling you share a story like this in your life, like the one I'm about to tell. I go to cocktail parties with my wife, who's a real extrovert, so I'm already in introversion mode in reaction to her. And there's people to meet. And people always want to ask you the first question in order to get the conversation going, so what do you do? And at that moment, I'm the deer in the headlights. I absolutely freeze. I hate trying to explain what I do because it's weird. And they are going to give me that look as I try to explain it. So I run. I grab my wife, I have her explain me, and I get the hell out of the way. And she does a much better job of it. I don't like that feeling. I don't like not really being able to explain myself in a pithy way. I don't like not really having the elevator pitch for what it is I do, or more importantly, who I am. And so that's my story of weirdness and discomfort about what I do. Do you feel that at all? Being in this field, I think a lot of us have that kind of sensation of, well, Mom says I'm in computers, and I guess that works in certain contexts, but that's not really what I do. But if I talk to a developer, I can't tell them I'm in computers. They know. So at every context, I don't know. I think we have a certain sense of feeling weird and not really being able to tell our story. Well, what I'm going to do right now is basically lead you through an exercise, and that's what these little handouts are about, to develop your own personal mission statement. Something that will make you feel less weird. That's not a bad goal, right? We don't get many opportunities to sit down and talk about who we are, what we're about, in a safe place, in a way where our vulnerability is okay, and to actually get it out verbally, have someone listen to us, and develop a statement that describes who we are. And in an area like ours, which is weird, that can be really useful. Think of all the contexts where it would be nice to have a personal mission statement. It could be at that cocktail party. It could be in the elevator. It could be on your business card. It could be your Twitter bio. It could be your epitaph. That's cheerful. But something that explains you in a way that you can use. So we're going to do this exercise. You're going to pair up in a little while, but first I'm going to go first. I'm going to demonstrate. So let me pull up a few things to get started. First thing is this exercise. So I think I need a switch. Nicely done. This is the exercise, and as you all have a copy of this, and as you can see, I've given you a few contexts where a personal mission statement might be helpful. Basically, the first step is to take a few minutes. We're going to take 5 minutes when this is your turn to tell your story, and I've given you a few seed questions to get started. You can use something else, but you're going to be sitting with someone else, and you're going to spend 5 minutes telling them about yourself. And it could be what's important to you, what's weird about you, the nature of the work you do, things you've done and how you feel about those activities, where you failed and why. Whatever really feels good to you, you're going to have 5 minutes to go through that story while the other person listens. And then you're going to spend 5 minutes together crafting a personal mission statement. And once you've done that, you're going to trade places. So if you're the note taker who's helping your partner by listening to their story and writing things down and helping them craft something, just keep in mind that you're going to switch places, so you better be attentive, because they're going to do the same thing for you. So it's reciprocal. I have a volunteer. His name is Mr. Ismini. He's going to come up here, and he's going to hear me tell my story. So we'll demonstrate this, and he's going to take some notes. So we're going to actually bring up a timer. Let's get that up there. And Andrea, why don't you come up here? And I have a place for you to take notes. Super. We'll get the window ready for you. Can make it a little bigger. And then we'll show that in a minute. And before we get started, any questions? Okay, good. All right, are you ready to hear me out, Andrea? Yeah. All right. So let's get this going. And ready, set, let's see. Go, no. There we go. That's a really long second.
You hit it twice.
Oh, okay.
All right.
A little bit laggy. All right.
There you go.
Ready, set.
Try again. It's going to be the longest 5 minutes.
The longest
of my life.
second, that's right. Okay,
There you go.
there we go. All right. So, I like to start with, I often start my story with what's pissed me off a lot. But it's like 3 a.m. for me right now. It's a little early for me to really be pissed off. I'm more like just trying to wake myself up. So, I don't know, I felt like I'd like to sort of talk a little bit about a common thread that I found in my work, going certainly back to grad school. When I was in grad school, I was in the information science program at the University of Michigan. And like a lot of those programs, they had a nod to non-academic contexts like the entrepreneurial world. And so they had a course on being an entrepreneur, and we worked in groups. And I hated working in groups, but this group worked really well. Why did it work well? Well, we had to think up a business. And I had like 5 or 6 of those business ideas. And I basically came up with one that the group loved, and then I just got the hell out of the way. And they were all excited, and I couldn't quite believe it. People were just like interested in executing on this idea that I'd come up with. To me, the execution was boring as crap. I didn't want anything to do with it. But it was great that they just took it on. I had the idea, they did it. I just was kind of dumbfounded that people would want to run with an idea, especially one of mine. But the idea part for me was the easy part. Like I said, I probably started with 5 or 6 ideas, and they took one and ran with it. I love that experience. Just come up with the idea. Let somebody else run with it. And then I kept finding, once I moved into working as a consultant, actually I had a consultancy. Peter Morville and I had our information architecture consulting firm for many years. And I found like the same kind of thing, which was I liked to sell. I loved being up there in front of clients and winning the work. I didn't really like doing the IA work. Again, somebody else could do that. And they were really happy that somebody like me was doing the selling. So what's that about? I like to sell. I keep finding these things that nobody else likes to do, and they'll take on in turn the things I hate, like doing the actual work. Fantastic. One of the things I found when I was doing consulting was that the nature of this, really the sales consulting, was that I started with pain. Like, what's your problem? What's the pain you're feeling? you being the client. And I kind of would tell them, I'm going to get you on my couch, and we're going to talk about that pain. And, you know, they were really happy to do that. And that was kind of weird. Like, I could get people talking, and talking about what their information pain was. And so I would start telling them that I was something of an information therapist. And again, like, the idea of getting them to think about and actually work on their problems with a little help from me was much more fun than me fixing the problems. And then I found, like, after I was done with being running a consulting firm and doing consulting myself, I went into publishing. And again, I found that the thing I do now is like the fun, easy part, but nobody else seems to want to do it, which is finding the people to write the books, helping them shape the books, and then getting the hell out of the way. Writing a book's horrible. It's a horrible experience. You do it. I'll publish it. So I just kept finding that, you know, there's all these things that people want to do, and I just don't understand it. The fun part is visualizing the idea, like visualizing what a book could be, visualizing what a line of books could be. And now we've taken that to conference program development. We put on the Enterprise UX conference, and we put on a number of virtual conferences every year. And it's like shaping the program, thinking about the sequence of the program. What are the themes we're going to cover? Oh, that's the fun part. And then we find people to present. And they want to do that, and that's the hard part. So creating sort of settings or really containers or even infrastructures for people to create their own content and pour it in. So I don't know, there's like this thing I've found for the last 25 years of my career, which is the bulk of my career, which is that if you create like a structure, and maybe that's what information architecture ultimately is, it enables other people to pour their stuff, their hard work into it, they will. And that's been the fun thing for me to do. And look at that, 5 seconds left. How's that? Finished. All right, so I told my story, and Andrea took some notes.
Yep.
And let's put those notes up here.
Yep.
So now, before I actually get to the notes, what I'd like to do is change this. This is my Twitter bio, and I think it's kind of lame. Subversive curator of information. I don't know, that's a little precious to say you're subversive. I like the curator part. The information part certainly is okay, but I don't know. Let's do better. We just got all these notes. Let's take 5 minutes, and we're going to work together. You're going to be my main volunteer.
Okay.
You'll be typing. But you guys also were listening. You might have some ideas to throw out about what would be a better personal mission statement that would work for my Twitter bio. All right. So let's get back to our timer. We'll reset it. All right. I think we can reset it. Oh, let me get rid of that. Okay. Come on, Google. Let's do a reload. All right, there we go. So let's get everything ready. You've got your notes. We'll review those.
Yep.
Where'd they go?
I have no idea.
Now we have no idea. There we go. Okay. Isn't it always lovely to be using somebody else's computer in front of 150 observers? All right. Okay. So let's get it started. We'll try to keep an eye on it. Actually, Henry, can you time us for 5 minutes? It'd be easier if you do this part, but I'll start it anyway. All right. Let's see what the notes are. So Lou has this thread where there's some entrepreneurial thing going on, right? And liked working with business ideas.
Many
and,
of them.
People executed the ideas because I thought the execution was boring. They like my ideas, so maybe I'm an idea guy, but so what? Lots of people are idea guys. Ideas are really cheap. They're a dime a dozen. I keep going down. Let's see, I like
Just
the
need the
experience
map
of,
over here.
just scroll down, yep.
Yep.
What else you got here? Do you want to run through these? Actually, I'll let you do it.
Well, I mean, you started when you moved into the idea that you loved the experience of the idea creation, you then started talking about Argus and the consultancies with Peter, and you said that basically you found out that that was the same thing that you were experiencing in Michigan and that you basically like to sell, and mostly still convinced that that is nothing that anybody else likes to do, so that was your niche. You mentioned the thrill of sales and consulting, and the fact that you love to start from the pain the clients had as your initial pitch. You mentioned the fact that it's like taking them to the couch and listening to them.
So information therapy.
Yeah, information therapy.
Candidate, maybe?
Yeah, that would be a good moniker, I think. Because you're saying that you actually love them, love the idea that you were helping them. Like they were happy talking about their pains. That's what you said. Then, of course, you mentioned information therapist, and you said you get people to think and work on their problems, and that for you is still funnier than solving the actual problem. You did the same. Then you moved to publishing, like a third phase, and you said that that's still the easy part, the one that you love to do, but that for some reason nobody else wants, which is a horrible experience for others. You love to visualize the idea, whether it's books, conferences, all these sort of things, and creating structures for people to actually do their own thing. So like you love to set the boundaries for people to sort of do their own thing.
So creating structures for others' ideas.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it's been 25 years running and you still love it. And you said actually to structures for people to pour the stuff into. That's the way you sort of figured it.
So let's pull a few things out of that. If you want to type them maybe on a new line.
Absolutely.
I think we got information therapist. We've got this whole thing about creating structures for other people's ideas.
Oops, sorry.
Do any of those resonate with you? Meh? Or I see a thumbs up. Which one did you like?
I mean, they both resonate.
Would you see them on a Twitter bio? One of those more than the other?
I mean, the information therapist, you can replace your one precious statement with another.
Very nicely done. So, I mean, but that's the thing, because it should ideally be interesting. So you got to dance that line between interestingness and preciousness, and it's a hard one. Is there someone else in the back?
Yeah, you had mentioned the word infrastructure, so maybe setting up information infrastructure.
That's another one. I like that. Anything else come out of this for you?
Lou hates hard work.
Lou hates hard work. I hate hard work. You do it. I'll help you. Part of my story would have been, and a lot of you might identify with this if you like football, and I mean, non-US football. I was always the goalie because nobody else wanted to do it. That was fun. I don't know. I'm the goalie of UX.
I think you actually said something different when you landed on information therapist. I think a therapist for information pain has a more focused on the story you were telling.
I'll help you with your information pain.
Right. And so you were a therapist for information pain, which I think has a different connotation to it.
Or maybe I'm all about something like, I kill information pain, or I relieve it, or something along those
Sounds
lines.
a little bit, like medication, maybe.
I'm the oxycodone of information pain. Wait, all right, so again, that could get precious, but you know what? It's interesting. And if you're at that party, okay, you can kill that. So if you're at that party, now you're at least an interesting person, right? That's kind of important. It doesn't just have to be descriptive. It has to be something you feel good about. It has to be something that does connect to who you are and hopefully engages other people, because this isn't just for you. This is essentially an artifact of a conversation that you may have in the future. It's what starts it. It's what helps you engage with other people, gets you going. So what do you think, Andrea?
It seems like there's a lot to work on. Subversive goalie of UX. Full stop. Also therapist. I don't know.
Well, so, all right, we took 5 minutes. We came up with a bunch of good candidates. Sometimes when I do this exercise, it takes 1 minute and it's obvious. But even when it's not, this is not a bad place to be. We've got some good candidates. Well, does anyone feel passionately like there's such an obvious one here? Yeah.
Information therapist. I think because information is a word that is quite vague and has a lot of different meanings for people, but therapist is quite relatable. And so you've kind of entered that liminal space of something that's open-minded with something they can connect with.
So the liminal space of something that is, what's the two things? Between what? What's
Between something vague and relatable?
vague and relatable? I like that. And we just published a book called Liminal Thinking, so I'm really happy when people use that word. Very few people know
You
what it
said
means.
no books.
But what I like about information therapist is that it actually kind of isn't just about like sort of the consultative work of doing information architecture that I did for a long time, but I think it pertains to things like publishing and designing conference programs.
So this would be my version of it. So if you wanted to have, of course, it's
Subversive
a draft.
goalie of UX will help you with your information pain. Also hates hard work. Well, I like that, and you know me well, and that's honest, but I don't want to reveal too much. So let's go ahead and update this with information therapists.
Yep.
Now, I got to figure out where they make this link
Thing
to edit.
happens.
It's off to the right, I think, right?
It's probably on your profile.
Yeah, let's see. It is so hard to work with a, let's see.
Yeah, that's all.
There we go, edit profile.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do this. Information therapist.
One-handed.
Whoops.
You could hashtag that.
Yeah. Now you're, if it's got a hashtag, then it's real. All right. Oh, I misspelled it. Let's get that right.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
That would be really embarrassing. And then how do we save it? Down here somewhere? Yeah, not down there. Oh, here we go. And there we have it. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So that was the demo. Now you get to do this. Before you guys go ahead and jump in, a few things, a few ground rules. I did it and you can do it, and it is basically being vulnerable. Like I just did it in front of 150 people. I kind of spilled my guts about things about me, some of which were good, but some of which I'm a little embarrassed about. It's hard to talk about yourself. It really is. But how many of us ever have this opportunity, even for 5 minutes with someone who's a colleague, someone who's a peer in the field? You get that now. The other person, again, your role is to, as Andrea was really good at doing, is not be judgmental. You're taking notes, and then you're going to be constructive as you discuss what that mission statement could be for your partner. So this is a great opportunity that we rarely get. I would also ask that if you can, partner with someone that you didn't know when you arrived here today. If it's too inconvenient, I know the room isn't really set up to move around too much. It's okay if you just grab the person next to you. Maybe you do know them. But either way, if you can, find someone that you don't know well and take a couple minutes to find your partner, and then we'll start the timer off, and you'll get set and one of you will start telling your story. All right, so take a few minutes, find a partner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. All right, folks. So, you could tell that this exercise was designed by me because all I've been doing is standing up here doing nothing while you did all the work. But how did that work go? Did anyone come up with, let me first ask, something that really surprised them about themselves? Yeah, in red. An ethical what? An ethical compass. I couldn't. An ethical compass. What is an ethical compass? That's really interesting. I want to know more about you.
I worked somewhere that maybe wasn't, they thought about going to market and profit more than they did about human need. And rather than necessarily doing wireframes or whatever, I just sat in meetings and told them why their ideas weren't fair to people.
Did it work? Wow. We could talk about that. In fact, maybe we'll meet after this session is done. I'd love to hear more. But that's a very engaging statement about you. That could go in Twitter. That could go... What's that?
It might be an overstatement.
It might be an overstatement, but it also might teach you something about yourself that will help you in other contexts, work and otherwise. It's something that certainly stood out for you about you and maybe surprised you a bit. And it's a compelling phrase, so nicely done, you and your partner. Other folks who were surprised by what they learned through this exercise. Over there.
I said I enjoyed revolutionizing web dinosaurs. Yeah, sorry, Chick, thanks. Yeah, which I thought was surprising and slightly unfair, considering many of the sort of guys that I work with have been developers for, 30, 40 years, and they're amazing at it. And they often, in like transitioning over to the web and stuff, they found it really, really difficult. All the technology changed and everything, and they weren't used to speaking to end users. And sort of talking to them and getting them involved in that process has been really good. But it was unfair of me to call them dinosaurs.
Well, it's a really interesting expression to describe yourself, but what's, to me, fascinating is that you immediately step back from it, and it's almost as if you're looking at yourself through that lens, that you're looking at those people, and you're thinking about who you might be in 20 years.
Yeah.
And some young punk is going to be talking about you in the same way.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because that gave you an opportunity to understand yourself a little better, but also to have empathy for people that you work with. So that's a pretty cool byproduct. Other folks? Anyone else, whether it was surprising or just interesting? Right here.
So I called myself a military fashionista that loves to discuss it with
A military fashionista who loves to discuss pain points? Wow. A military. Do you actually work on military?
And I have a fashion design degree. And
Wow.
I work for a consultancy now.
That's the trifecta. You squeeze them all into probably 110 characters or something like that. That's very impressive. So we've got a lot of stuff that's really interesting, like the turns of phrase that you've all three of you have used. Really fascinating, and I personally want to learn more about each of you. Did anyone come up with something that maybe wasn't so maybe thrilling in terms of word choice, but still made them think in a way about themselves that they hadn't before? Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke about kind of off-topic things slightly, Simon, but we came up with the design strategies focused on inspiring the best contribution from people and teams, which is kind of a much bigger level than I put myself at normally.
So bigger level than where you'd put yourself normally.
Yeah,
Does that suggest that you're moving to some bigger role or bigger understanding of what you could do, or are you there now?
no, I think I'm broadening all the time and working. Like I said to Simon, I don't, I'm a bit uncomfortable with that statement about myself. It's definitely where I'm heading and going towards.
So what I really like about what you've brought up is the discomfort. You're willing to live with it. It's kind of like the gentleman over there as well, but it also then makes you think a second time about what you've come up with, and is this right? Do I really feel comfortable? Does it feel too grandiose? But maybe I don't give myself enough credit. Or this is what I'm shooting for, I'm not there yet, how do I get there? There may be some other interesting tensions that come up when you actually take the opportunity to write this stuff down. Anybody? Was there someone on this side? There's someone standing, but I don't think you wanted to. Oh, you're the mic person. Oh, all right. Important role nonetheless. Did anyone find that the exercise of helping your partner come up with a statement taught you something that you didn't know about yourself as a listener, as someone who's helping other people? Did that role make anyone think?
I got quite a loud voice actually.
Oh, here's a mic.
Okay.
We work together, but in different offices, and we've just got to know each other much, much better.
Just now.
Yeah, just now, which was fantastic, and it makes you think it's the kind of idea that you could use in a job interview or, you know, other contexts could be really neat. But yeah, we just got to know each other a lot better. We're in different offices, but
Well, you're like a plant for me, because a couple things. What was it, 20? 25? Yeah. But that's a couple things. First of all, think about other times where you might find having a sort of opportunity to think about yourself and out loud with a partner might be helpful, like getting ready for a job interview or something else important like that. But also the idea of getting to know people better. This is sort of one of these things where the journey is maybe more important than the destination. So whether or not you get a great mission statement, you now know someone pretty well that you didn't know 20 minutes ago, and vice versa. So you work together, but you know each other differently. Think especially if you're a manager or a leader of a team or an organization, how an exercise like this might be helpful. And I've heard a number of leaders tell me this. I'm going to go back to the office tomorrow, and I'm going to pair my developers and my designers, because they can't even speak the same language, much less understand each other. And I'm going to have them do this together. So think about people that could be paired who otherwise would know nothing or understand nothing about each other. Any other thoughts along those lines, especially from the leaders or managers in the room? Who you might put together, what value it might have, and also how you might change this exercise, because this is a very simple-minded thing, to be honest. I'm sure there are many ways to make it better. Is there one? Yeah, right here.
I was just going to say, in a slightly similar situation, I just started 6 months ago when the chat was in front of me. My first day was a team building day where everybody had just done personality tests.
Nice.
And it was the best first day ever because I knew everybody inside out on my first day. Instead of having to discover that for 6 months or a year.
First day on the job, they did a team personality
It
test.
just happened to be a team away day.
Why don't they make that the first day for everyone, right? Wouldn't that sort of short circuit a lot of problems that might emerge later on?
still stayed.
Right.
Still there. Okay, that's a good sign. Anyone else? Is there, I thought I saw a hand around here. Just a minute. Up, couple hands. You guys can fight it out. Why don't you go first?
I'd actually consider using this just with a client the first time you start a project. I mean, for 10 minutes, you're going to get so much. And I mean, whenever I work with people, it gets really personal anyway. Not that I'm horrible to them or anything, but I think you get to know them and you build that rapport, and you probably through it uncover a little bit about the project as well. You get a lot more about their background, which I think helps with their ways of thinking, so you understand where they're coming from.
You also get language, right? So you're taking notes, and there may be some nouns and verbs coming out that make you think, wow, I wouldn't have put it that way, or what does that mean? But that's a great example. I had not thought of doing that with a client. That's brilliant. And over here in front of that gentleman? Yeah.
I run a lot of like 4-day design sprints, and we always start them off with team building activities. They're usually like pretty awful. Like,
Why is that? What makes them awful?
People are like uncomfortable. You're doing them in a larger group. They feel sort of like silly and like a waste of time. And I feel like I'm definitely just going to use this as presented. And I feel like you wouldn't maybe get such a group sense, but you'd at least have everyone in the group knowing someone else.
Maybe it's a good thing to do before the team exercise, like a sort of warm up. Like, let's sort of work at an individual level, and then we're going to have be a little more mentally lubricated for the team exercise. I don't know. Sounds like the team exercises are pretty painful, though. So I'm glad this is a possible alternative.
I feel like there's not a lot of like good ones out there. You like read about them on the web.
So let me ask you all a question. So this part of the problem with those team exercises. It's like, all right, you're going to do this, and it's this very unnatural context. Go do it. Go open yourselves up. You know, I kind of made you guys do that, and I'm sure some of you hate my guts right now, so I apologize, because it might not have been fun, because it's first thing in the morning, and you may not even be awake yet. Does the fact that it was like sort of foisted upon you, did that make it better than, let's say, if this was done over a couple of beers? What do you think? Do you need to lubricate this, or is it almost better to just push people off the edge?
That's what I would like. I was thinking while you were talking. So, I mean, I think what I was tempted to do while listening to Ken was to talk about me, because that's natural, I think, and sort of create a rapport. But sometimes it's, I think what you taught me this little exercise is that you need to force yourself to listen, and you can. I think you could do it over a pint of beer. You could do it over the lunch next door or whatever. But I think you forcing it was just. I'm okay with it because I'm a chatterbox, but. You know.
Forced listening, it sounds like this horrible kind of death march. But yeah. There was one more hand up here, or did I miss it? And it'll be the last one. Maya.
Just occurred to me you could flip it into a team exercise quite easily by then introducing your partner at the end of it using their mission statement and explaining maybe down the right way.
Fantastic. So you might all go around and start with your mission statements, and then you're ready to do your teamwork, team exercise. Well, fantastic. Oh, one more thing.
With the forced part, I think it gives permission to be authentic, which is the nice aspect of it. Sorry to say.
The forced part gives you permission to be authentic, which is the nice aspect, is what she's saying. Yeah. Well, okay, so now you know a few things to wrap up. It's okay to force people to do things they don't want to do, even first thing in the day. And by the way, by design, we did this first, so now a bunch of you know each other for the next 2 days, right? That might not have happened at all. So timing is important as well. And permission. Permission to speak and open yourself up, be a little vulnerable, and a requirement to be kind to that person who's being vulnerable, and because you know you're next. Keeping it reciprocal is important. Well, that's it. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing a little bit more about your mission statements. If anybody, by the way, goes ahead and updates their mission statement in social media, it would be great if you could tag it with Interact London's hashtag so other people could see it. Thanks again.